Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy. We're nerds by nerds. Talking with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
And today, welcome to Don't Use This Orc, instead use that.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So, we're going to play around with a new little game based off of a Facebook post we saw in one of the 5e groups, right?
So it's a new series. Please let us know if you like it. But we're going to call it Don't Use This, Use That.
Someone said, hey, I'm running a game and I don't want to use orcs. I want to use something else. So we went and looked up on our handy dandy D&D Beyond humanoids CR half, and it spit out a bunch of monsters. So me and Ted each picked one, and we're just going to talk about the monster we picked and why we picked it.
So for starters, let's take a look at orc real quick. So the key features are arm class 13, 15 hit points, and it swings for a +5 to hit, D12 +3 for damage.
As we've seen, they can hurt a lot. They also have the aggressive ability, so they're probably getting to you.
Right. Now, that's pretty potent. If they score a crit, it's very possible with a low-level character that you're just ending them.
We've seen it happen. Also, a little disclaimer is we are using the Wizards of the Coast challenge system. So if you have a problem with our picks, you should send it to Wizards of the Coast.
All right. So I thought, let's pick something that I don't know if I've ever seen this in a game, but they're pretty darn cool. I went with Jackalweres.
Okay. So that sounds like some kind of lycanthrope.
It's not a lycanthrope at all. The demon prince or demon lord Gratz created Jackalweres to be the servants of the Lamias, and they have the ability to shapeshift, so they can look like a bedraggled humanoid. They can look like a regular indistinct hyena, or they can be in their hybrid form, humanoid, 2 arms, 2 legs, but with the head of a jackal.
Anamorphic.
Yes.
Basically make them look like a were-jackal. But it's a Jackalwere. Much different.
Much different. There's no shifting at the full moons. They're in full control of their shape-shifting capacity.
Okay. So what intrigues you about using this potential monster?
Well, first and foremost, you have a creature that is a low challenge. It has the ability to shapeshift. It's evil. It's chaotic evil, just like your orc. So all the things that you might want to do with orcs, you have the ability to do here with essentially cult-like power behind it, as opposed to tribal power behind it. And you have the ability to say, oh, well, here's this thing. They're not going to hit as hard as your orcs, but they come equipped with a nice little handy gaze attack.
Well, not only that, I see that as a monster that's more likely to use subterfuge and stealth than it is to outright attack a party. So it would change the type of adventure.
It's going to change the type of adventure, and it's got the ability to add some role-playing with your adversaries that might not have been there before, besides, throw out an insult.
Right, yeah, he could show up as a saboteur because he shape changes into a human, comes into your group. So it would definitely make for a way different type of encounter than a bloodthirsty orc come charging down upon you.
So, as I gave you the other stats before, we have armor class 12. They're easier to hit. 18 hit points, so slightly more. They actually have skills. Deception +4, perception +2, stealth +4. Pretty interesting. They can do a bite or a weapon attack. They get a +4 to hit, and it's die 4 +2 on the bite, or as per weapon +2. And then, as I said, they've got a gaze attack, which will put their adversaries to sleep if they fail a wisdom save DC 10. Very good for low-level characters, especially for those, I don't want to say fools, but those unhappy, those characters who have dumped wisdom.
They're going to pay the price.
Yes.
So I actually went into Volos guide, page 142, and these guys are actually very much like orcs. But some of the differences are, one, they like places where it's hot, so they want volcanic activity, maybe near a rift to the fire elemental plane, maybe the desert. But they also need liquids, right? They're actually, I find this a little odd, is because they're amphibians.
Right.
But they're also, they also have this fire kind of like subtype to them too.
So you went Firenewt Warrior.
Yeah, Firenewt Warrior, because once you get into the Firenewt Warlocks, that's going to be a little bit tougher with a CR1.
Right.
But these guys are CR halves. They're religious fanatics. They worship, the Imix, the Prince of Evil Fire. So again, you could have a cult following. There's a lot of story you could tell around it. This could literally just be an encounter with a raiding party.
And what's the alignment on those guys?
These guys are neutral evil.
All right, so you still have the evil bend to work with as well. You're not limited with this is neutral or this is good. So you still have that humanoid evil race to work with.
Now, these guys are pretty tough, too. Like, you got an armor class 16. They're wearing a chain shirt and they have a shield. They got hit points of 22. They have immunity to fire. That's a biggie.
All right, so we already have higher AC than orcs, more armor, more hit points than orcs, and a damage immunity.
We do, and they're amphibious. If in case you want to attack from underwater or something. So all of these are going to add up. Well, and here's the other thing. I was like, oh my goodness, when I saw this. Firenewts have multi-attack. They make 2 attacks with their scimitar. So here's the saving grace, sort of. When they hit, they only have a +3 to hit compared to the orcs +5.
Right.
So they're not going to hit as often as the orc. And they only do a D6 +1.
So D6 +1 at a +3, a piece, versus the +5 to hit at a D12 +3.
It's almost the same if they hit twice.
Right.
So there's that. But here's the other thing. They also get a special ability. They get Spitfire. They can deliver this after a short or long rest. And it does 2d8 points of fire damage. And you have to make a saving throw DC 11 to take half. So, they can have an opener, right? Literally, like, if you use more than one of these and they focus fire, literally, on one of your players, that is going to be bad news for them, especially if it's maybe one of the less dexterous ones.
Right.
That, they could really whittle that character down.
So, whenever you're looking at these type of encounters, you have to figure out what kind of tactic you want your monsters to use. And sometimes you have to hurt the party enough that, one player goes down. That guy's going to have a sucking encounter unless your party gets them somehow back up via magic. And that'll show that the monsters that you're encountering are intelligent enough to use tactics. They're intelligent enough to observe the force that's against them and target the weakest of them.
Now, I will say one of the things about the Firenewts, it's kind of a saving grace, is maybe they have 2 attack modes, right? One is, we are at war, and we are going to freaking destroy everything and everyone. You're all dead. You're just dead to us. We take no prisoners. We draw no quarter. We ask for no quarter. This is to the death. Or they're doing raids and they're like slaves. So, as long as it's not an all-out, full-out invasion, you could literally go, they're raiders, and even if these guys beat the party, then the next session they're breaking out of a new Firenewt prison, which could be fun. Or
you literally plan it to go either way, and you do this mid-session.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But it could change from here on, like they're going to have to try and escape or whatever. So that is kind of good in the sense that if you do have these guys and you miscalculate the challenge for the party, you go, they don't have to be dead. We're just, the next leg of the venture is, you could do this fun role playing thing where one of the big things about the Firenewts is they have warlocks to Imix, right, and they kind of rule the tribes and the Firenewts, and you could do this thing where like all your gear is being presented to him, to this warlock, and they're like divvying up your stuff, and you're brought before him as prisoners and slaves. So it could be some role playing. Maybe you can talk your way out of it. Maybe you can't. Maybe you can just do some cool role playing. Maybe your players are just going to say some stupid stuff and get killed right then and there. You never know. But it just opens up some avenues for you to go as the DM and for the players to have. And in both cases, see, there's greater monsters and ally monsters that are kind of introduced. So if you wanted to break this out from just being an encounter to the adventure or into the campaign, you have room to do that. Because Firenewts, or at least the Firenewt warrior, their elite warriors ride giant striders. So these are like these basically these lizard chocobo creatures that also kind of spit fire. But you're not going to want to introduce them until later, right? Because that might be a really tough encounter unless you did like a Firenewt and a strider, right? And that was the whole encounter. But also like the Firenewt warlock of MX is another one. See, they're all like CR, or they're all challenge 1 and challenge half. But you could build this out into a much bigger campaign if you wanted to, or adventure, or a series of adventures. And the same thing with the Jackalwere, because of, they tend to serve the Lamias. They can have colts under them, or the Lamia can have a colt under them.
And of course, you want to go all the way to the top. There's Grats.
There's Grats, which is in, I believe you can find Grats in Out of the Abyss, yeah. So there's definitely room for these to be expanded upon, and that's what's fun about it. And I think when we do this series, we're going to also keep that in mind as well. Not just, hey, instead of using this typical monster that you always use, here's a different monster. Here's how it can work for the encounter. Here's how it could work for the adventure. And possibly this could be even how it works for your campaign.
Absolutely. So what do you guys think? Do you like this new series? Do you have any suggestions of what you'd like us to see? Don't use. Put those down in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Or you can always tweet at us with don't use this, use that hashtag.
So until next time, stay nerdy. Newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So we're going to play around with a new little game based off of a Facebook post we saw in one of the 5e groups, right?
So it's a new series. Please let us know if you like it. But we're going to call it...
Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy. We're nerds by nerds. Talking with this nerd.
Nerdarchist Ted.
And today, welcome to Don't Use This Orc, instead use that.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy.
As we've seen, they can hurt a lot. They also have the aggressive ability, so they're probably getting to you.
Right. Now, that's pretty potent. If they score a crit, it's very possible with a low-level character that you're just ending them.
We've seen it.
Don't use this, use that.
Someone said, hey, I'm running a game and I don't want to use orcs. I want to use something else. So we went and looked up on our handy-dandy D&D Beyond humanoids CR half, and it spit out a bunch of monsters. So me and Ted each picked one, and we're just going to talk about the monster we picked and why we picked it.
So for starters, let's take a look at orc real quick. So the key features are arm class 13, 15 hit points, and it swings for a +5 to hit, D12 +3 for damage.